back to Chicago.
Thanks. Never know what to do with this part here.
I know. So how does it compare to your juicer?
The Juicero? It's different.
Now,
this is delicious.
Since you're a juice pro, I was a little nervous, but...
When I travel this much, you know, there's like little things that make your body feel a little bit more balanced.
Right. So when you were 15...
Yes.
And did you win 5 world championships by 18?
Yes. A big championship when I was 15, and then 2 other titles when I was 17 and 2 others when I was 18.
Were your parents driving you to their competitions?
Flying also, they were all overseas. So basically, all this was a while ago. I'm 34 now. At first, my parents were supportive enough. They were just sort of like, not fully understanding what I was doing, but just kind of saying like, hey, you love doing this, so cool, fine, you know. I was pretty serious at school too, so my dad would just say like, if your grades stay up, you could do this stuff too. And then my brother was in music as well, so he was kind of encouraging me a lot too. At first it was, you know, gigs around Montreal or neighboring town, you know, Ottawa, Quebec City, things like that. And once I started entering these competitions, that took me quickly to the worldwide stage. So the first championship that I won was in Italy, actually. It started with a prelim in Montreal, which took me to the Canadian finals. Okay. And then they said, hey, you got to go to Italy for the world championships. Yeah, when I was like 15, 16, I would always travel with either my brother or my mom. My dad goes to sleep early. He's just like, okay, good luck.
Good luck. Yeah,
Be
you're
here.
Like sleeping before you even like go on stage.
Yeah, exactly. And once I was like 17 or so, I started traveling by myself a bit more.
What do you remember most about maybe whether it was the first competition or like your first performance? With
the perspective of, you know, like 20 years of touring since, those early couple shows and performances and competitions, the way I remember them now is that I just I felt like I was in my basement, but just not in my basement. You know, I wasn't really thinking about the consequences much or the big picture or, you know, existence.
Yeah.
You know, there's things that come with like the more years you put into it and the more you put on the line, because even once I was competing for like 3-4 years, if I would enter a competition, if I lost, I would be the world champion from the year before that lost. The first year I went up there, I was just like, this is fun, I won! You know, and then after a while it became more like, you know, you put things on the line, and then over the years I had, I think, even more of a worldview. But yeah, those first couple shows I was just like, where do I go? Here? Okay, yeah.
I'm just having fun.
Yeah.
Not that you're not having fun now, but it seems like it's like you're just totally in the moment.
It was a little more innocent. Oh. I'm definitely still having fun, but...
Yeah. Did you ever in your wildest dreams think like you'd be here today, like with all your different hats that you're wearing and projects and producing and your record label?
I mean, it took a while to even be able to think that far ahead. You know, like I got into DJing at a time when DJing itself was kind of having a renaissance. So I was able to ride a wave, and there was definitely something going on at the time. And I was, you know, in a sense, I was at the right time, at the right place. And those kinds of moments only happen every so often. I've seen DJing go through those waves maybe 2 or 3 times over those 20 years. So my friends and I would sometimes think like, let's see how long this goes, because the amount of attention we were getting for something that was at the time so niche, it was a little uncanny. You know, there's just a lot of people paying attention to it. People talk about it and you're like, oh cool, you guys are paying attention. I don't know if you'll still want to talk about it in 5 years. So at that time I remember thinking, I'm gonna stay in school, I'm gonna do this for a few years, hopefully it works out. Hopefully I can have, you know, get my name established in a way that I can keep doing it for a while. You know, when I was 16, I remember thinking like, I really should get some sort of degree so that when I'm 40, I'm not just like looking for something to do. I remember really thinking like, for when I'm 40.
Right,
that was sort of the thought process. And then, you know, there was a point when once I finished high school and I still wanted to go to college. I took a sabbatical before going to college, but I remember thinking like, all right, let me take this 1 year to go at it full time and see how that goes. And then I went to college and met Kanye right after that, like while I was still in college. So that kind of threw like a new jetpack in my life, because that put me on much bigger stages, you know, because with Ye, it's like, by the way, tomorrow we're at the Grammys. Like, okay, cool, what? You know, like there's just the performance, the visibility got so much bigger.
How old were you when that happened then?
I started working with Kanye when I was 22.
Okay.
It's right when his first album came out, 2004.
Did it really go down in London? Like, was
Yeah. Just like he
in
saw
the right place at the right time again,
Yeah.
and you were ready?
Yeah, I talked myself into being at this one record shop where I heard he might be. You know, so I made sure that I was going to be there and do a little showcase so he would see me. So it wasn't like literally like open the door like, hey, Kanye West. Like I knew that something could happen, but still, the fact that we were in London at the same time that's the coincidental part.
Did it surprise you when it actually like came to be?
Surprise makes it seem a bit more innocent than it was. I knew what I was trying to get, but I was just like, oh man, it's happening. It's that kind of feeling, oh man, it's happening. And this was also around the same time when social media started becoming a thing, because those were the MySpace days.
Oh yeah.
You know, and MySpace was the first time that you had to present yourself in a certain way. So I'd been DJing for, maybe 8 years at that point, and I already had all these accolades, world championships, and a good reputation in my scene, which albeit was a bit of an underground scene, but in my world people knew me,
Right.
But then Ye put me on those big stages, and at the same time, when everybody in the music scene was building these MySpace pages, it was like, you gotta have some sort of artwork which comes with an aesthetic decision, which says like, well, how are you representing yourself? Is your logo gonna be reminiscent of this or of that? Like, what's your references? Where do you stand in the scope of aesthetics, That's the first time a lot of us had to think about that.
That's so interesting.
So
and
suddenly...
did that part come easy to you?
Yeah, I loved it. But it's the first time I really, went gung-ho with it. So then suddenly I got a logo, I got a page design, I'm making flyers for my tours, I'm starting to put out more, mixed CDs and things like that, because for all those years prior to that, it was a live thing. It was a live experience. You come see A-Trak live, I'm gonna scratch. And then like, there was videotapes of some of those championships that I won, but aside from that, it was kind of ethereal.
What's the biggest difference between like who people see maybe like on stage and then like, hang out with friends and family?
In day-to-day life, I'm just a very chill person. I'm way less of a jump all over the place kind of stage guy.
Yeah.
That's like to the point where I have friends who like saw me DJ way after us being friends. Do you know what I mean? Like who only knew like the hangout side of me, and then saw me play and would be like, who is that?
Right. If you could have a drink with anyone, who would it be?
Anthony Bourdain.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm really interested in people who represent to their fields sort of what I represent to my field.
Right.
So I love to watch documentaries on athletes who win the Olympics and stuff, because their concentration is like my concentration. What Bourdain's done with the world of, cooking, the chef profession, but also putting out books and demystifying certain things, but also traveling as much as he does. That's something I can relate to in a sense, or I can aspire to, I guess.
Well, thank you so much for coming over here. You're at
Hey,
club.
if you need me to be somewhere, just say there's juice and I'll show up.